Okay, let's dive into this. You know that feeling when you're listening to English or maybe reading and you follow perfectly.
Uh-huh. You get it all.
But then when it's your turn to actually speak, to be fluent and confident, you hit a wall.
Yeah, that frustrating point, like you're stuck.
Exactly. You feel like you know the language, but you can't quite express yourself the way you really want to.
That's a super common hurdle.
Yeah.
You've got the knowledge base, but that spontaneous, flexible speaking, that advanced fluency,
Yeah.
it feels just out of reach.
It's like you have all the musical notes learned, but playing the piece smoothly, expressively, that's the hard part.
Precisely. And you've shared this guide with us today, which, well, it tackles that exact challenge head on. It's laid out as this very structured daily plan, almost like a training program.
A blueprint, really, designed specifically to bridge that gap, right? Moving from just understanding to truly advanced, spontaneous speaking.
That's the idea. It's not just, a random list of suggestions. It's presented as a system, a whole practice session broken down into these timed parts.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the specific blueprint. We'll pull out the key bits, understand the thinking behind the structure, and really show you what a day using this method might look like.
Think of it like less like random trips to the gym and more like a really targeted training schedule for an athlete, but for your English speaking.
Right, not just grammar drills. It seems to cover everything from, the physical side of pronunciation all the way to complex stuff like critical thinking and even storytelling, all through speaking out loud.
Exactly. So the guide maps out this daily session. Total time, 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Wow, okay. That sounds like a significant commitment up front.
It does, but I think the value here in looking at it is understanding why it's structured that way, the intention behind each piece. It's split into 10 distinct parts.
10 parts, each targeting something different.
Yeah, each focusing on a specific facet of advanced fluency, kind of building on each other. It's a full immersion block designed to hit multiple skills hard.
Okay, so it's comprehensive. How does this blueprint kick things off then? Part 1, the guide calls it warm up and thinking in English. 20 minutes for that. What's first?
The very first activity is shadow speaking. Just 5 minutes.
Shadow speaking, how does that work?
It's pretty simple, actually. You listen to a native English speaker. The guide suggests maybe a TED Talk intro or a podcast clip.
Okay.
And you speak right after them, immediately, trying to copy their tone, their rhythm, their intonation, as closely as you can.
Okay, so it's less about understanding every single word at this stage and more about just getting your mouth and ears tuned into the sound and the flow of natural speech.
Exactly. The guide mentions clips on things like personal growth, science, culture. It seems positioned to activate the physical side of speaking right away.
Getting the mouth moving, tuning the ear, like a musician warming up scales.
Precisely. Before you even start building your own sentences. It's a quick dip into the music of English.
Makes sense. And after that shadowing warm-up, it moves into a 10-minute mental speaking drill. Sounds like it ramps things up fast.
It really does. The idea here is you speak continuously for, say, 3 to 5 minutes on a specific prompt.
What kind of prompts?
The guide gives examples like, describe your perfect morning routine, but in extreme detail. Or talk about a difficult decision you made. Or imagine advising your younger self.
Okay. And the key instruction is?
Keep talking. Don't pause for too long. Even if you make mistakes or stumble a bit, just keep the flow going.
Right. So the goal here seems to be fighting that urge to hesitate, forcing yourself to keep producing language even under a little pressure, building speaking stamina right from the start.
That's exactly it. Breaking the hesitation habit.
Okay, warm up the voice, challenge the pauses. What's the next block in this system?
Part 2 is all about vocabulary expansion. 25 minutes focused on words.
And it's themed.
Yeah, the guide sets a theme for this practice. Power, influence, and communication. And he gives you a specific list of words and phrases to work with.
That sounds useful, very practical for professional or academic settings. What kind of words?
Things like persuasive, which it defines as, able to convince others, or connotation, the implied meaning. Also words like articulate, assertive, rhetoric.
Good, strong words. And how does the guide suggest practicing them? Not just flashcards, I hope.
Definitely not. It's about active use. It suggests making your own sentences with them, creating a short dialogue, using, say, at least 3 of the words.
Okay, using them in context.
And interestingly, it suggests explaining each word as if you were teaching it to an imaginary English learner.
Oh, I like that. That forces you to really simplify and make sure you understand the core meaning well enough to explain it clearly.
Exactly. Make sure you're not just memorizing, but really learning to use the words flexibly.
So, arming yourself with specific tools for expression. Okay, moving on. Part 3 is real-life role plays, another 25 minutes. This sounds like putting those tools to work.
Yeah, taking the language and practicing it in simulated interactions, getting practical.
How does that work? Do you need a partner?
The guide says you can either speak both roles yourself, or yes, work with a partner if you have one. The focus is on using the right tone, the vocabulary you've learned, and natural phrasing.
Okay. What kind of scenarios does it suggest?
It gives 2 examples. First, a high-stakes job interview.
Ooh, tough one.
Yeah, and it includes specific, challenging questions you might get, like, why should we hire you over other qualified candidates? Or, tell me about a time you failed and what you learned.
Wow, so you have to think on your feet and actually say your answer out loud, like in a real interview.
Exactly. Practice under pressure. The second scenario is about disagreeing politely in a business meeting.
Also very useful. How does that one work?
It gives an example situation, like discussing cutting a marketing budget.
Yeah.
And it provides specific phrases to try out. Things like, I respectfully disagree because, or, that's a valid point, but let's also consider.
Or could we maybe explore a middle ground here?
Exactly, those kinds of phrases. So you're practicing not just the language, but also the social navigation, the tone.
That's key. It's not just what you say, but how you say it, especially in those situations. Okay, so you've warmed up, built vocab, practiced in role plays. Where next?
Part 4 is listening and deep comprehension. This is a bigger chunk, 30 minutes, and it's definitely not passive listening.
Right, it sounds active. What kind of material does it suggest?
Things like a TED Talk, maybe an NPR segment, something around 7 to 15 minutes, or even a YouTube video essay on a more complex topic like science, philosophy, economics.
Okay, something with substance. And what's the process?
It's step by step. First, listen once just to get the main gist, the overall idea.
Okay.
Then listen again. This time afterwards, you summarize the main points out loud for maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
So processing and verbalizing the summary.
But then comes the deep part. You have to answer specific analytical questions out loud.
Yeah.
Like, what was the speaker's core argument? What evidence did they use to back it up?
Ah, getting critical.
Exactly. And also, do you agree or disagree with them? And why? And even, what would you add if you were giving that presentation?
That really pushes comprehension way beyond just understanding the words. You're analyzing, evaluating, forming your own response, and saying it all out loud. It sounds like a great bridge between listening and speaking at a higher level.
It definitely seems designed that way.
Yeah.
And part 5 builds right on that. It moves into critical thinking and debate practice. Another 30 minutes.
So taking those analytical skills and applying them to build your own arguments.
Pretty much. This section pushes you to articulate complex thoughts clearly. The guide suggests picking 2 or 3 challenging topics and speaking for about 4 to 5 minutes on each one.
What sort of topics are we talking about?
They're designed to make you think, to require some reasoned arguments.
Sure.
The list includes things like, should artificial intelligence have legal rights?
Whoa, okay.
Or, is cancel culture a threat to free speech? Should higher education be free? Are humans responsible for climate change?
Right. These are definitely topics that need careful thought and the ability to express nuanced views. We should note, of course, we're just presenting these as they are in the guide, not taking any stance ourselves.
Absolutely. The guide even suggests a structure to practice. State your position clearly, give 2 strong arguments for it, address a potential counter-argument, and then conclude.
So you're practicing constructing a logical, well-supported argument out loud in English. Not necessarily debating someone else, but building that persuasive muscle yourself.
Exactly. Training your ability to structure and verbalize complex ideas, handle different angles, that's a real marker of advanced fluency beyond just chatting.
Okay, makes sense. After tackling those big arguments, part 6 shifts gear a bit to advanced storytelling. 20 minutes for this.
Yeah, storytelling. It's such a fundamental way we connect, isn't it? Mastering it in another language is huge.
Totally. So what kind of storytelling practice does the guide suggest?
It gives a few prompts to choose from, like, tell a true story about something that genuinely changed your perspective on the world.
Oh, powerful.
Or describe the most intense moment you've experienced in a public place. Or invent a short fictional story, maybe a mystery, drama, or comedy. Or even imagine and describe your life 20 years from now.
So a mix of personal and imaginative prompts. And does it give guidance on how to tell the story?
Yes, and this is key. It specifies elements to focus on, pushing you beyond just basic recounting. Things like having a clear beginning, middle, and end, using realistic dialogue, showing emotional shift.
And grammar points, too.
Explicitly. It mentions using things like the past perfect tense, conditional sentences, and really vivid adjectives to make the story engaging.
So it's about crafting a compelling narrative, not just listing events, using the language with more color and depth.
That's the goal. Moving towards more sophisticated communication.
Okay, so we've built vocab, practiced scenarios, analyzed ideas, argued points, told stories. Part 7 targets another tricky area: idioms, phrasal verbs, and expressions. 15 minutes just for those.
Yeah, these are often the things that make speech sound really natural, really native, but they can be tough to master.
Totally. What examples does the guide give?
Things like to take something with a grain of salt, or hit the nail on the head, bite the bullet, pull someone's leg, to be on the fence, common ones.
Right, the ones you hear all the time. And the practice is similar to the vocabulary section, active use.
Exactly. Use each one in a natural sounding sentence. Try to weave, say, 3 of them into a short story. And again, that technique of explaining each one in simple terms, like to a beginner.
Making them part of your active toolkit, not just things you recognize. Getting comfortable with those definitely makes a difference. Okay, then part 8 gets into the mechanics, accent and pronunciation precision. Another 15 minutes.
Yep. Focusing on the actual sounds, this part targets specific common challenges for learners.
Like what?
The guide highlights things like getting those ending sounds right, the ed-st sounds, linking words together smoothly, like how want to becomes wanna in casual speech, and distinguishing between stressed and unstressed syllables in words and sentences.
Those are crucial for clarity and sounding natural. Does it give practice material?
It does. It provides specific sentences designed to hit those points. For example, she should have told him sooner, but she kept it to herself. That one's got should have linking.
Right, or another one, what do you want to do about the meeting tomorrow? Very natural contractions and linking there.
And I would have gone if I'd known earlier. Again, focusing on those connected speech patterns.
And how should you practice these sentences? Just repeat them.
The guide suggests varied repetition. First, say them slowly and very clearly, focusing on each sound. Then say them at a more natural, faster speed. And finally, try saying them with exaggerated emotion: happy, sad, angry.
Oh, interesting. Why the emotion part?
It probably helps solidify the intonation patterns and makes the practice less mechanical, more about natural expression. It integrates the pronunciation into actual fluent speech.
Systematic drilling for clarity and flow.
Got it. Okay, we're nearing the end of this 2.5-hour session. Part 9 is real-time challenge tasks. 20 minutes. This sounds like pressure.
It is. It's designed to simulate that feeling of having to speak spontaneously right now.
How does it work?
The format is 1-minute topics. You pick a topic, set a timer for 1 minute, and you just speak about it continuously for the whole minute.
Just keep talking for 60 seconds. What kind of topics?
The guide suggests trying maybe 3 different ones. The topics are pretty broad, needing quick thinking, like the last article or book you read, a controversial issue in your country, advice you'd give a teenager today, or describe your dream job or business team.
So things you likely have opinions or thoughts on, but you have to articulate them immediately and keep going. Exactly. No long pauses allowed. It's about building that ability to maintain coherent speech, even when you haven't perfectly planned every word. Forcing fluency under time pressure.
Mimicking real conversation where you have to keep the ball rolling. Okay, that makes sense. And the very last part. Part 10. Just 10 minutes.
This is self-reflection and recap. It's about processing the whole practice session you just did, cementing the learning, and figuring out what to focus on next.
How you do that?
The guide suggests either speaking your reflections out loud or maybe journaling about them. And it gives specific questions to guide you.
Questions designed to make you a more conscious learner.
Precisely. They're really good for self-assessment. Things like, what vocabulary or grammar felt difficult for you today? Which topic did you feel most confident speaking about? Where did you find yourself hesitating the most?
And looking forward to.
Yeah. What would you like to focus on in your practice tomorrow? And maybe more broadly, how do you plan to keep improving overall?
That turns the whole thing into a learning cycle, doesn't it? Using today's practice to inform tomorrow's, making it more targeted.
Exactly. It creates a feedback loop.
Yeah.
So when you add all those pieces together, the warm-up, vocab, role plays, the deep listening, critical thinking, storytelling, idioms, pronunciation, that real-time challenge, and the reflection.
That's the full 2 hours and 30 minutes. Wow.
It is indeed a very comprehensive blueprint. It really moves systematically from foundational mechanics right through to complex cognitive skills like analysis and narrative, all centered around actually speaking.
And I think, like you said earlier, the key takeaway here isn't necessarily that everyone must do this exact 2.5-hour routine immediately, though maybe some will.
Right. It's more about seeing the kinds of focused, varied, and intentional practice that this guide highlights, the different ingredients that contribute to really advanced fluency.
You could take this blueprint and maybe just pick one or two parts that resonate with you, or address your weak spots and integrate those into your existing study time, or use it as inspiration to build your own diverse practice plan.
Exactly. Because getting to that advanced level, it's not just about knowing more grammar rules or more words. It's about training your brain and your mouth to use what you know automatically, flexibly, expressively, in lots of different situations, under different kinds of pressure.
This guide really offers one very detailed roadmap for how you might build that capacity systematically.
It really does. It makes you think about the whole process differently. How might dedicating even a shorter but really focused and varied block of practice time each day, how might that fundamentally change your relationship with speaking English over the long run?
Yeah, it's more than just improving language skills, isn't it? It's almost like it expands your ability to express complex thoughts, connect with people through stories, argue persuasively, basically to be more fully yourself in English.